Hi, I'm Kyle,
And I'm Josh.
and we're
Fear the Queer,
a podcast that talks about everything on our gay agendas, from politics and media.
to race and relationships. So sit back, relax, as we spill the tea.
Fear the
Queer.
That was beautiful.
That was good.
I know.
Thanks. Good evening, listeners, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fear the Queer. And this is part 3 of our Pride series.
Pride series.
Yes.
On tonight's episode, we will be discussing politics and social moments happening after Stonewall.
Because we already covered pop culture.
Pop culture.
And now, why are we repeating ourselves?
I just like it.
Yeah. And now we're going to be doing major political events.
Major political events.
Thank you, Iago.
But before we begin, Josh, what are we drinking tonight?
So we're going to not actually be drinking a cocktail tonight, but we're going to be pulling back with shots again.
Oh, lucky me. You know
Yep.
how I do with shots.
But the reason why we're doing it is because we're playing another game tonight.
Which we will be getting to in a moment.
Yes. But before we do that, we're going to be doing another segment of
Read My Rainbow, in which we talk about something happening in our queer little lives, which is our rainbow, and then the other reads us for it. So, Josh, would you like to begin, or would you like me to begin?
I guess I'll start.
Go for it.
Okay. So I work at a medical fitness center, for those of you who don't know, on top of bartending as well. So,
Mover and a shaker.
yeah. So at the medical fitness center, we actually have people who are allowed to pay for a gym membership and they can just work out there, just like a regular like export and things like that. So one day I was checking a member in, and he's this very cute blonde guy, has big muscly arms.
So, checking him in and checking him out.
Okay. So here goes. As he checked in, he kind of smiled at me, and we kind of kept eye contact like a second longer than I thought. Yeah, exactly. And then he walked away. And then my coworker turned to me, and she's just like, I heard he's on the down low, and he hooked up with one of the lifeguards here. I know. I was just like, shut up.
Does
Really?
that happen a lot? You don't have to say, because like, maybe that's like a little bit too much.
Well, before my day, apparently hooking up with like members and people like that happened a lot, and new management kind of came through, and it kind of became more toned down.
Were they not sleeping with anyone?
Well,
The managers are like, well, if you don't sleep with me, you don't sleep with anyone.
I don't know. Anyway, so
That's salacious.
yeah, so after I get off work, I go upstairs and I work out, and I notice that he is still upstairs, and with that in mind, I wasn't going to do anything with him, obviously.
Right.
I was just kind of like, I'm like insanely curious to know like what's going on with this guy.
Like, what's going on?
Right, so I would be working out a little bit closer, like, to his area. Like, you know, it was supposed to be leg day, and then all of a sudden I'm doing biceps.
And abs.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna run a mile.
Right, like, I'm just, like, sweating.
You're, like,
profusely trying to
running
keep
after
up.
him?
Yeah. So, apparently, and, like, you know, we made eye contact, like, several times throughout this, and I was just like, okay, so something's going on.
Was he, like,
here.
smiling?
Well, like, he would always, like, nod and
You're just
things
being
like-
nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I never said anything. And then after this, I was just like, okay, I am dying to know. This has to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they hooked up. They must have found each other on Grindr or something, because the lifeguard who hooked up with him, I know, is very promiscuous. Yeah.
Promiscuous girl.
Yeah, and he's always on Grindr, and he's always, like, wanting to check out other guys. So I'm just like, okay, so that's clearly how you found him. Anyway, so I go up to the lifeguard after all this is said and done. The guy is leaving.
Okay.
And so I'm just like, I pull him aside. I was just like, hey, so I heard that you guys hooked up. Is that true? And he's just like, he looked, he's like, who?
And this is you to the lifeguard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me to the lifeguard. And he's just like, who? And I pointed to the blonde guy, and he was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I have no idea who that was.
What? So you were stalking someone?
I was
the whole
stalking
time?
someone. Well, I was stalking someone the whole time upstairs, and then the lifeguard turns to me. He's just like, "How do you even know this in the first place?" And I was just like,
Oh. Okay.
yeah. So I got caught twice.
I love like a foot in mouth moment. Not like a kink thing, but like not like a foot fetish thing. But I love that you're like, so did you hook up with him? And he's like, that's not him. Also,
Right.
How did you know this? I can't believe. Okay, and also you were, girl. Okay, here's the thing.
Girl.
You Okay, so I can't get over the fact that you were stalking someone while you're working out, which, I mean, some people are into that. Mm-hmm. That's their business, but here's the thing. He was an innocent bystander.
I know!
And he probably was like, who is this person? Who is this guy with this blue hair following me around the gym? He's not doing his bicep curls right.
He's lifting way too much that he should be.
And you're just like sweating, staring at him. Is this how you meet most guys? You just stalk them?
No.
You're like following them around at the Walmart,
right?
The H&M.
Right. I'm just like, well, do you want to work out together?
Like, so I heard that you slept with an employee. Yeah. Like how it's like kind of accusatory, but it's also kind of funny because it's like, could you picture that on a show? Just like, so I heard that you're sleeping with someone, and they're like, no, I'm not. You're like,
how do you know this?
And yeah, I like the idea of. I would have loved if you walked up to the blonde guy and you're like, so I heard you're like into sleeping with people here, and he's just like, I'm not. But imagine if he liked it. Oh. Imagine if he was like,
what if I was the first one?
What if it was like the pickup line?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I never
See, you used to tease me for not.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, you used to tease me for like not being smooth and flirty, but I have my moments. Usually when they are kind of like a weird, wild thing, and when it doesn't involve me, I'm like, you should have totally done this. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so my rainbow, it happened today. So listeners, you can't tell, but I got a haircut because I was looking kind of like a coconut head. So we need to get the sides faded up. So I was really excited because I love going to this haircut. Josh is looking at me right now. It looks nice, right?
It looks really good, actually.
I know. I mean, thank you. I'm such a brat. So I love going to this one guy. He's really nice, and we always just like chit chat about anything, TV, movies, and it's like super easy to talk to him. He asked me like what I was doing for Pride, but he kept like, I'm wearing a collared shirt right now, and I gotten this like last year, and I'm not sponsored, at Uniqlo, and it didn't fit me very well. I was like, had a little bit more of a tummy, and I've lost like, like a pound. No, thank you. No, I've lost like a little bit of weight, so I put it on today, and I was like, oh, she looks cute today. So I decided to wear this shirt that I had never worn. Now, I thought I had gotten all the tags off, and the guy keeps, like, pulling on my collar, and I think he's doing that to, like, get the nape of my neck to, like, buzz it. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, I was like, okay, thank you, bye, and he's like, okay, bye. And I go to Target to, try on clothes, as one does. Mm-hmm. And as I'm trying on clothes, I look, I have the size tag still on the collar of my shirt. Yeah. And I think he was trying to pick at it to try to get it off, but it was like a really hard sticker.
Yeah.
And I'm just like terribly embarrassed about this.
So I'm just imagining him just like yanking on your shirt.
Yeah, he kind of was. Because he kind of was. And in my head I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, wow.
You're like, I'm into it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm kind of into it. Cut my hair. Yeah.
Oh my God, so, is he flirting?
He has a husband.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe. No, maybe. I could be the other woman. I could just walk up to him and be like, so I heard you sleep with people that come and get their hair cut, since that's something that you seem to be very interested in doing.
And they're like, sir, we're closing in 5 minutes.
Or like,
can you please go?
Sir, what kind of coffee do you want?
Right?
Do you want a grande? Do you want a tall?
You better work, bitch.
You're like on the counter.
Yeah.
You're like, so I heard you sleep with people. And he's like, I do, but not you. So now we are going to get into the heart of our gay agenda. Woo! So this week we are continuing with our Pride series. And going to be talking about the political moments post-Stonewall. Mm-hmm. And to do this, Josh came up with a little bit of a game, and he came up with some rules because Josh loves rules.
Yes.
And he's going to explain them now. So Josh, go ahead. How are we going to play this game?
Well, for everyone who knows me, I am like a Monica Geller, and I love to make up my own rules. And so...
Very by the book.
Yes, exactly. So... basically, what we did is we each challenged each other to think of 5 major political moments past Stonewall that we would try to share with each other. Now, just like the last game, the point of it is to make sure that neither one of us actually has the same topic at hand.
Because that'll probably happen.
Right. I mean, it's bound to happen.
There's going to be some overlap.
Right. And that's what their shots come in for. Because if we both have the same category, we have to take a shot. Yep.
So we have little shot glasses. Cheers, queers.
Cheers. Yes.
For sound effect moment.
Right.
So they're ready to go. Yeah, just like.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so a timer's going to be set for 10 seconds. And within those 10 seconds...
And Josh has a timer out, of course.
I do. Very official. One of us has to give out 5 clues of the historical queer moment that we chose for the other person to guess.
Yes.
That person then has to correctly guess the event in order to gain a point. However, if you don't guess it within the 10 seconds, you then have to take a shot.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, what if we have the same thing? Because I was thinking this, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to ask him when we get on the podcast. What if we both have the same event?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to take a shot.
So we both have to take a shot?
Yes.
Josh he just wants to get me drunk.
We're gonna get very drunk. And then, so afterwards, we also are going to give a short summary of each event, just for our listeners out there who may have never heard of what exactly we're talking about here. And a drinking game for you guys is anytime that you guys hear, well, the funny thing is, come out of my fucking mouth, because apparently I say that all the goddamn time in this podcast, you have to take a shot, listener.
You notice that as you're editing, you're just like, well, the funny thing is
I literally could just edit an entire episode alone, and it would make up 30 minutes of me just being like, well, the funny thing is.
Yeah, the thing is, the funny thing is okay, that was your cue, listeners. Take a shot or take a drink.
Yep. So
unless you're driving, don't take a drink as you're driving.
No.
Do people listen to us as they drive?
And do people listen to us?
I don't know. Let us know.
Let us know, please.
Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
But I encourage, if you're listening to us and working out, do drink during that, because working out sucks.
Drunk on a treadmill is fine.
Drunk on a treadmill. Memoir by Josh.
Okay, so at the end of the game, the person who receives the least amount of points has to take 3 shots in a row.
And what exactly are we shooting?
Well, the base is vodka, because it's Pride Month.
And it's gay water.
And gay water.
Vodka is gay water.
Yeah. And then I won't say the rest, because you'll just have to check it out on our Thirst Traps page.
There we go. I love a good plug.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So let's do a rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to go first.
Okay, ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay. Damn it!
Okay, I got it. I got scissors, he got paper.
All right.
I'm just cutting it up. Okay, so...
Boom.
Okay, I'll let Josh do the timer because he very much likes to be in control of things.
Okay.
No tea, no shade, no pink lemonade.
All right.
All right, ready? Don't look at my paper.
What? I'm not.
Okay.
All right, ready?
All right, here are the... Okay,
well,
ready?
I gotta start the timer.
This is exciting.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, here are the clues. Homeless, activism, 213th East 2nd Street. Sylvia Rivera. Marsha P. Johnson.
Damn it! Damn it!
Did you not get it?
No, it's their organization.
You're so close.
Oh, damn it!
We talked about it in another episode.
I know. Shut up.
Bitch, take a shot.
All right.
That's right. Take your shot that I'm really nervous about taking.
Just poured.
Okay.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, jeez. And that was 12 seconds. Okay, do you remember what it's called?
It's an acronym of something.
It is. What do I think I am?
Ugly.
That is so rude. And during Pride Month, I don't need this homophobic nonsense.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, what do I think I am?
A star.
Exactly. I had to kind of force him out of that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's STAR, which stands for Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, which, when we say transvestite, that's how Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera referred to themselves back in the 1970s.
Yes.
So it all started...
Break it down, sis.
All right. So it all started during a protest where Marsha P. Johnson, during the protest, started to get this idea that they should bring together homeless youth, queer homeless youth, and try to, protect them. Mm-hmm. So that's when STAR was born. So this happened in 1970, and STAR hosted a fundraising dance that helped fund the STAR household, which, when I said 213th East 2nd Street, that's in the East Village, and that's where it was at.
Okay.
So after this protest and this dance event, Marcia and Sylvia.
It raised money.
It raised money so that they were able to house the homeless queer youth.
Okay.
And they would do this by relying on being sex workers.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so they were trying to protect the youth and doing that. Unfortunately, STAR only lasted about a year just because of like poor conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And after like a while, there was this huge moment where Sylvia Rivera, she went to a pride parade, and she claimed, she was like, we're being shunned from pride parades, and like me and Marcia and all these other people were like protecting the children, and a lot of like cis feminists like booed her and told her to get off the stage, and it was just like this horrible
Which
horrible
is so funny
moment.
because I always feel like the funny thing is
Take a shot.
right, it's interesting because one, Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson are the reason Pride even happened. And so these pride parades, and they're getting shunned to the back and booed.
Right, and after they already had established STAR, which again, it went under, but they were doing something to help the community.
Right.
They were trying to they were trying to house homeless youth.
You haven't even taken a shot yet.
I haven't. It's very warm where we're recording, and I'm ready to like unbutton my shirt a little bit more. I actually,
God.
There's 4 buttons undone.
Oh, God.
How you like me now?
Not very much. Well, and the weird thing is, too, is that with queer history, like, it seems like transgender women and outdated feminist views were very hostile towards transgender women.
Oh, it most definitely was.
Which I find very frustrating.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. And I'm glad that, like, not just us, but a lot of people within the community, outside the community, just keep referring to, like, well, remember Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera and, like, all these other queer, like, trans people and people of color are the reason that we have Pride.
Right,
Unfortunately, like, white people took that over and kind of ran with it, but, it's kind of, like, reclaiming that back.
Yeah.
Anyways, STAR was my first.
Okay, I did not have that.
All right, great.
I did not get a point. But anyway, okay, so I am going to do my next round. Are you ready?
I am. I'm very competitive, so I'm really excited. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to start the timer. 3, 2, 1. All right, Craig Rodwell, 1970. Annual. 51 blocks. Christopher Street Liberation Day.
Fuck. Okay, no, I already went over the time. Okay, I got it. Okay, so I do know what it is.
Yeah.
It's the Pride Parade. And I got that when you said Christopher Street Liberation Day.
Yep, but you didn't guess in time.
Damn it. Okay, here's the shot. Give me the shot.
Yup.
God,
All right,
pour
please
one
do not
out.
pour all over my...
I will try not to.
All right. All right.
Okay. Ooh, okay, cheers, queers.
Cheers!
Oh, I'm so slow at taking shots. Hold on. Okay. That went down way smoother than it probably should have.
Alcohol.
All right, so the first Pride Parade.
Yes, all right, let's break it down, sis. All right, so after the Stonewall riots, a few months later, on November 2nd of 1969, Craig Rodwell and his partner Fred Sargent proposed the first Pride March, along with other organizational leads such as Ellen Brody, Linda Rhodes, and the mother of Pride, also known as Brenda Howard.
Oh, hey, Brenda.
Yeah, Brenda. So Brenda is known as the mother of Pride simply because she actually helped coordinate events held throughout the week leading up to the Pride Parade, and that tradition has then stayed all throughout Pride history.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like when we have Pride festivals and like events.
That's because of Brenda?
It's because of Brenda.
She's like the Martha Stewart of Pride.
Yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the Gay Liberation Front is the main cause of the first Pride Parade because they were the ones who were contacting other LGBTQ organizations, being like, hey, let's come together, let's, try to get this set up here. And then finally, 1 year later, on June 28th of 1970, thousands of the LGBTQ community marched along 51 blocks in New York City. They went all the way from, I think, Christopher Street to Central Park. And this is the first time that it's ever happened, and it was called, at the time, Christopher Street Liberation Day. Yeah.
And it's like basically a year after the Stonewall riots.
Yeah, 1 year commemorating the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which, again, was the modern-day gay liberation movement.
Right.
And then LA, San Francisco, and Chicago woo! Also hosted their first Pride that year. Now the New York Pride Parade, which I've never been to, is like the world leading Pride Parade, basically.
And what's wild is we're having World Pride Day of the 50th anniversary of Stonewall in New York in like, what, a week or something?
Yeah, basically.
Jesus.
It's so exciting.
We're coming up on it.
I know. And basically the only Pride Parade that rivals it in terms of popularity is the Sao Paulo Pride Parade in Brazil.
Okay, work.
I know.
All right.
Also, work Brazil.
Yeah. Come to Brazil.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, you didn't have that.
I did not.
How did you skip the first Pride?
Okay, so I'll be real.
Yeah.
I focus a lot on like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. I find them both to be very interesting people. So I think I was just like, well, it all started with Star.
Okay, so, sure.
I'm just... Also, like, when we were talking about, like, political, social movements, I just didn't... I don't know. I thought we had, like, talked about that.
That's fair. Okay.
But we didn't.
No, we didn't.
So clearly I am wrong. Okay, next!
All right. On to the next one.
Okay, the next one.
As
Ready?
Jay-Z would say. Yes. All right. Start the timer.
Okay,
3, 2, 1, go.
Castro Street. Got to give them hope. The Twinkie defense.
Harvey Milk.
Yes.
Yay!
Okay, well, all right, well, work. You got that in 6 seconds. Well, good for you.
Yay!
I'm glad I didn't have to come up with, like, my other clue, which was cereal.
Oh, I was like, what?
I wanted to be, like, kind of cheeky, but I guess that was not a good one.
Boo. Okay.
I know.
Well, the reason why I got this because I also had Harvey Milk.
Oh, so then we'll both take a shot.
Yeah. I'm not sure how exactly this came about, where we both take shots.
I just like to drink.
That's fine.
Drink, drink, drink. Also, kids, stay hydrated.
Yes.
You may not be able to see it, but we are.
Well, the funny
we do
thing
have
is,
water.
Ow!
Oh my God, you're causing them to drink. Cheers, queers.
Cheers, queers.
I tasted that time. I don't like that time. I don't like that.
Like that one was bad.
I feel like sorry, I feel like right now we're like history teachers, but every time like
it's like drunk history.
Yeah, it is a little bit like drunk history. I feel like every time that someone asks a question, I'm like that teacher who goes to his desk and is just like, I have a flask. I can't get over this. Like, I'm gonna take.
Shut the fuck up, Sharon.
But remember to drink your water during Pride Month.
Yep.
Anyways, so Harvey Milk.
Yes.
Which I think a lot of people have heard of Harvey Milk. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a movie made of him and everything. So this happened back in the 1970s, 1977.
Okay.
So before Harvey Milk was in office, he actually was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. He was pretty popular. He was very athletic, had a lot of comedy wit to him, and made him fairly popular. He was also in the United States Navy and later campaigned for Republican presidential candidate Barry Goldwater in 1964.
Right, so he was like pretty conservative.
Yeah, definitely more conservative. Mm-hmm. To be fair, Democrats and Republicans were much closely aligned.
That's true.
Before Reagan.
Right, that's true.
So then there was like a huge, I mean, obviously some differences. Anyways, so eventually he moved to San Francisco. I believe he was in New York. Did you have that?
Yeah, he was in New York.
He was in New York. Okay, yeah. I forgot to put that in my notes. So eventually he moved to New York and he became more involved in the queer community and became more open with his sexuality. Mm-hmm. So in 1972, he opened up a camera shop on Castro Street, which Castro, we all know, is like considered to be part of like the gay community.
Well, it's like
in
the
San
heart
Francisco.
of the gay
It's
community.
the heart of the gay community. And later he ended up running for the San Francisco Board of Supervisors.
Oh.
Yeah. So like a year later he did that.
He did that.
He did that. So he got a lot of votes for this because he was very charismatic and he had a lot of very candid viewpoints when people would ask him questions. And it actually inspired him to continue in politics. So, I mean, actually he had a few unsuccessful campaigns, but he ended up getting a lot of queer support. And actually a lot of heterosexual support in the community. And he won a spot on the city's Board of Councils. So work.
Yeah, that was in 1977.
That was 1977, right. So even though he was only in office for a little bit, he had a lot of really strong progressive bills, including a bill that banned discrimination in public places, such as housing and employment, based on sexual orientation.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess, we're still fighting for. But
say,
Harvey Milk, he was bringing this to the attention. He did that. We need t-shirts.
Right.
He did that. I like it.
Yeah.
People were like, who did that? I'm like, he did. He did.
But like capital H-E. So people could be like, God.
He did that. He did that. Gaga's like, born this way. So anyways, he had this like bill. He did that. Take a shot every time I say he did that. Okay. So he had this bill, trying to ban discrimination against sexual orientation. It actually... The vote went through and was pretty good, except for one person, Dan White.
Oh, and he. Ooh.
Oh, girl, we do not like Dan White. So, like,
because he. Well, oh yeah.
Dan White. Yeah, Dan White. He later ended up resigning, and he was so pissed off at the mayor at the time, because of siding with Harvey Milk. He was just like, he was a big old homophobe.
Right.
People argue that he wasn't, but he definitely was. So. What ended up happening in 1978, Dan White snuck into City Hall and he shot both the mayor, Moscone, and Harvey Milk to death. So I've seen Cleve Jones, who was friends with Harvey Milk, and kind of like, I don't want to say like an apprentice, but like Harvey Milk was his mentor, and he remembers like running in and seeing their bodies on the floor. And it's like weird when you hear someone who was at a historical event talk about it.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's totally wild to me. So after they were both killed, there was a candlelit vigil outside the city hall, and like tons and tons of people came, and they said that it was like the saddest day in the city. It was like a city mourns the death of these people.
Right.
So of course Dan White went on trial, and his defense team, and you know this, decided to use the Twinkie defense, which they said because he like wasn't working anymore, he had a very like high junk food diet, Twinkies, and he was just like, a little out of his mind. So what does he do? He decides to kill people. No, I don't think so, ma'am. That's not how it works.
I was gonna say, you eat Twinkies all the time. You haven't killed anybody.
That you know of, sis. So it was just not good. What ended up happening is Dan White got 7 years in prison for manslaughter.
Only 7.
Only 7. And the public went wild. It was so angry because it's basically like he murdered people in cold blood.
Right.
And clearly is a homophobe.
Right.
And he has 7 years of manslaughter. So there was rioting. It was just like really, really ugly. And the night was actually called the White Night Flights. So, good part is
you mean
that...
the White Night Fights? How many drinks have you had?
God damn it. The White Knight Fights. Clearly I can't read.
He didn't do that.
He did not read that. So we do know that Milk does have a legacy, and he is part of the modern gay movement.
Yes.
And actually on his birthday in May 22nd is recognized as Harvey Milk Day.
Yes.
And in 2009, President Barack Obama honored him posthumously with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And there's also, the movie with, what's his face?
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm like, that guy. The guy.
Yeah, Harvey Milk definitely is like one of those... I mean, I feel like he's up there with like Sylvia Rivera, Marsha P. Johnson in terms of leaving a legacy behind for queer rights movement.
Definitely like a big legacy. And I think a lot of people do know about him. And if anything, when it comes to like politics... it has kind of helped pave the way for people nowadays to be queer. I mean, we have Pete Buttigieg running for office, and while I don't agree with him on like everything, Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh. I thought it was Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg?
I don't know.
I can't say it now. Pete B.
Pete B. Okay.
It's like having a Pete T and a Pete B in like second grade class.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, Pete B, go to the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Harvey Milk paved the way for a lot of other queer politicians.
Yes. All right, now I have another one, and it's going to go in tie with Harvey Milk.
Really?
So
Okay.
keep that in mind while you
Okay.
guess.
Okay.
Are you ready to guess?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm nervous that I don't have this one.
Okay. One.
Okay.
Well, you should because it's part of your home state, actually.
Okay.
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 That wasn't one of the clues. All right. 3, 2, 1. Start the timer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
The Human Rights Party.
Mm-hmm.
Lesbian.
Mm-hmm. Oh!
Political office.
Oh, fuck, what is her name? It's,
Who?
she was this... Okay, I don't remember her name, but I know she went to U of M, and she was actually the first queer person to be elected to political office, but I forget her name.
Kathy Kozachenko.
Well, of course, Kathy what?
Kozachenko.
Kathy Kozachenko, she's a household name.
Well, this is so funny because the funny thing is,
You start reading, I'm gonna pour myself a shot.
Oh, that's right.
No, you can keep reading. Don't mind me.
Just die.
No, it's fine. Okay.
Cheers.
He slurped it. Okay.
Sipping slizzards. Riding like a G. Anyway. Okay.
Oh my god.
So, Kathy Kozachenko was actually the first gay person to win an American election, and not Harvey Milk.
Right.
Yes, but the funny thing is that everyone's just like, who? So she ran for city council in Ann Arbor, Michigan in 1974, about 3 years before Harvey Milk ever was in office, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So how it works is that Kathy was a student at University of Michigan, and she wanted to campaign for a seat at city council. Her campaign manager joked with her one day. He's just like, "Hey, Kathy, why don't you run as an open lesbian?" She's like, "Nah. Oh, okay.
She's like,
why not?"
You knew I was a lesbian?
Right. And she actually ran on the Human Rights Party ticket. Now, the Human Rights Party ticket.
Yeah, what is that? Is that like Democrat?
Kind of. It's even more liberal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically like far left movement.
Far left.
Yeah, it only lasted a little bit of time in the
Okay.
70s, but enough for Kathy to vote onto that. And she successfully influenced the Ann Arbor City Council, and she won on April 2nd of 1974. Her opponent was actually a liberal Democrat.
Funny.
Yeah, I know.
Well, have you ever been to Ann Arbor?
No.
It's really liberal. It's really pretty. It's like a very like collegiate town.
Okay.
And it's wonderfully diverse. So
Oh.
it makes sense that they're both pretty liberal.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh. Now, the funny thing is that no one actually even really talked about it afterwards. Like, no one ever mentioned how historical her winning
Right.
became. Like, the New York Times wrote an article about it the next day, and they briefly mentioned that Kathy was a lesbian, but they didn't mention anything about how historic it was, how she was the first gay person to be elected into office, or just like, Kathy, a lesbian, was also won a seat.
Lesbian Kathy.
Yeah. Goddamn lesbian Kathy. Again. So it's funny because the media kind of ignored her, her legacy has kind of also been overlooked over time, and people didn't really recognize, her legacy.
I'm glad you're talking about her.
Yeah. Well, Kathy even theorizes too, because she said she doesn't want to fall back on this cliche, but she's like, I think the reason why people forget about me is because I'm not actually a gay rights activist. I'm a politician who just happens to be gay. And so she doesn't really have that big of a legacy of like her.
Is she still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive.
Oh, wow.
She never ran for office again, and she retired in, I think, Connecticut with her partner.
Oh, okay, work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, work, bitch.
Yeah, work. Connecticut. Sounds beautiful.
Wait, where is Pittsburgh?
Philadelphia. Oh, wait. No, Pittsburgh is not Philadelphia. Pittsburgh is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I said that with such certainty that I was like, I obviously
It's in
know.
another city. Anyway, and she never ran for office again. And so she just kind of faded into obscurity.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh, Kathy, don't fade.
I know.
Shine bright like a diamond. I'm like sweating. It's so warm.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Kathy's in Philadelphia.
Maybe she's in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia,
Yeah,
listening right now, and she's like,
We'll
"Wow,
just know that.
She's like, you got that all wrong."
Yeah, she's just like, my God, shut up.
These two.
Go to AA. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, Kathy, if you're listening,
Thank
we
you.
applaud you. Thank you. All right.
All right, next one.
Yes.
So, I'm pretty sure we're going to both have this.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know about you. Okay, so, ready?
Yeah. Shall we start the timer?
Go ahead.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Reagan. Rock. Grid.
Are you just saying, like, names with R?
No, stop it. Act Up. Gaten Dugas.
Fuck.
It's too late.
AIDS.
Already over.
Oh.
Oh, fuck the AIDS.
Oh, fuck the AIDS.
Yes, AIDS.
I had the AIDS. Or, I mean...
You also wrote about the AIDS. All right, I'm
Yeah.
going to pour this one. One for me. One for you.
Give me a double since I lost.
I'm just going to... I don't want to spill. Okay, wait, here. Okay.
Right.
Cheers,
Cheers,
queers.
queers.
Question, why do people do that?
What?
Where they, like, tap you go, like, cheers, and then you tap the table, and then you take it? Why do
I
people
have
do that?
no idea why people do
I don't
that,
know why
but
either.
It looks cool.
Someone said it's like a college thing, and I was like, oh, well, I didn't finish that. So, obviously, Josh and I have talked about the AIDS epidemic quite a bit on this podcast, and I feel like a lot of people know chunks about the AIDS epidemic, but I also feel like...
I feel like you should, again, know your history.
Know your history, and it's just important to just keep talking about it, because people are still affected by AIDS and HIV even today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, up until the 1980s, HIV and AIDS was pretty much unknown to the public, except for like a few cases that were in the 1920s, but people didn't really know about that.
Well, because the 1920s is actually where they track back and thinking that AIDS actually came to America.
That it came. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, in 1981, a rare lung infection called PCP was found in 5 previously healthy gay men in Los Angeles. And then in New York and other parts of California, other men were diagnosed with very rare aggressive type of cancer. And I'm sure a lot of people might know this, but by the end of the year, 270 men were reported to have severe immune deficiency, and 121 of them had already died.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
It's like
And it's just this disease that people are dying from, and no one knew what it was.
Like immediately.
Yes.
Like imagine, like, you know how like people freaked out over like swine flu or like the Ebola virus coming to America, but like no one really died from that. So imagine like 121 people just dying.
But they were gay, so it didn't matter for a lot of people. It didn't matter to the public.
Sad.
Right.
Anyway.
So what ended up happening was a gay flight attendant named Gaten Dugas.
Yeah. Gaten Dugas.
Gaten Dugas. He was accused as being patient zero because of his sexual promiscuity, but later this was determined to be false.
And he was actually accused by the author of And the Band Played On. Have you ever read that book?
I have not.
Okay, so it's written by Randy Schultz, I think? Schultz.
Okay.
Anyway.
Oh,
so,
like the beer.
What?
Oh, no, that's Schlitz.
Yeah, anyway. So so he wrote And the Band Played On, which actually covered the AIDS epidemic of the 80s, and he criticizes Reagan's response to this, which we'll get into in a second.
Yeah.
It's actually a really well-known book about the AIDS epidemic. I actually might want to try and read it.
That'd be good. We should do a book club.
Yeah.
Fear the Queer Book Club.
He actually accused Gaten Dugas of being patient zero without any backup.
It was just because he was sexually promiscuous?
Well, he apparently infected 40 of the 200-some men.
Apparently. I mean...
Well, they traced it back to him.
Okay.
Right. So they kind of thought that he started it, which it actually, technically, it's not true whatsoever.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, back in 1982, do you know what doctors started calling AIDS?
Oh, you said it. It was like...
It's GERD.
Oh, GERD.
GERD. What did you just say?
GERD, which is like acid reflux.
GERD. No, it was called GRID, which
Yes.
stands for gay-related immune deficiency. And it caused a ton of panic and misconception. And a lot of people thought that only gay men could get it. Later in the year, the Center of Disease Control officially titled the disease AIDS. And throughout the decade, a lot of AIDS-specific organizations began to be established to fund medical research and proper healthcare, such as like ACT UP, the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, and all these other organizations started popping up and being created because the government wasn't recognizing that people were dying, that people were being affected by this. And actually, when gay men were dying, and before they even realized what it was our lesbian sisters who were taking care of us.
Right, because
no one wanted to get near us.
Yeah, it was like no one else wanted to take care.
So it was just, it's crazy. It's very sad and heartbreaking. And really, no one started to pay attention until like heterosexual people started getting it.
Like Rock
and
Hudson.
Rock Hudson.
Well, he wasn't
men,
heterosexual,
women.
but yeah.
Well, like, men and women and children started to get it. So, I mean, then the Reagan administration.
Yep. Burn in hell, I will say this. That's all I have to say to Reagan, but I already said that. So.
Well, the Reagan administration, they've been notorious for just handling this entire thing terribly. I feel like that's an understatement.
Right.
But when Reagan entered office in 1981, it was the same year that the disease, broke out. He refused to even comment on the disease, and the government funding for AIDS research was severely underfunded. So that's why ACT UP and all these other organizations had to come about.
Because they weren't being funded otherwise.
Right. So he was even ignored to comment on the disease when it took the life of his friend, like you said, Rock Hudson, which is just such a shitty thing to do. Like, your friend died from AIDS, and you're not even going to comment on it?
Right.
So it wasn't until Reagan first had a speech on AIDS in 1987, over 20,000 Americans had already died at this point.
And that was 6 years after the first case was...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were, news outlets were reporting this, and they refused to talk about it. And I think it was just because queer people were being affected by this.
And he just wanted it to go away.
He just wanted it to go away. Well, we're not going away, and you should be helping people.
Randy Schultz or whatever his name is, he actually claims that Reagan administration actually wanted that to happen. He wanted to get rid of gays. He wanted to get rid of homosexuals. So he just wouldn't respond to it because it was just an easy way of just turn your head the other way and just let it happen.
Oh,
because at the time,
what a good Samaritan.
Right, because people at the time, they weren't that knowledgeable about AIDS and HIV like we are now.
Right.
So they just assumed, it's a gay disease. All right, cool.
Well, and it's also very interesting too because I feel like it's when people are like, well, why are you so upset with conservatives? I'm like, because they don't care.
Right.
They don't care about other people, whether they're gay, black, brown, whatever. They do not care. And I feel like this is a prime example, even though it was decades ago, as to what that party really
has turned into.
This is the start of it, really. So, with AIDS, there came about a... have you ever heard of the AIDS quilt?
No.
So the AIDS quilt, you know how I mentioned Cleve Jones earlier?
I don't have any of that.
Oh, here, take a shot.
No.
Take a shot. Take a shot. You didn't have it, and I was right. I want a point. Take a shot.
God.
I'm a very competitive person.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Ew.
Sorry.
He just coughed in my ear. I can smell the vodka. Gross. So
sorry.
You okay, girl?
Yeah.
Okay. So the AIDS quilt actually was the AIDS quilt was actually started by Cleve Jones. I've mentioned Cleve Jones earlier.
Yes.
He was kind of like a mentee from Harvey Milk. He's also a gay activist, an artist, a writer. You may know the book When We Rise. Came out in
yes.
I think 2016. And there's actually also an ABC miniseries that came out a few years ago. Check it out if you have a chance to. If you don't like reading, which I find whatever.
Why
I won't
did you
get
look
into
at me
that.
when you said that?
I did not. I'm just saying you also don't like watching TV. So
what do you do?
What do you do? He listens to podcasts.
No, I don't even do that. What
don't
do I do?
Admit that. He did that.
Anyway.
So definitely watch When We Rise, which is about Cleve Jones. But a book I've actually read, it's called Stitching a Revolution. That's also about Cleve Jones starting this AIDS quilt. And the AIDS quilt is these large panels that are in memory of people that are affected by the AIDS, HIV crisis. Whether they have died, whether it's a family member doing it for them, a friend. And it's huge, and it actually covered the mall in Washington, D.C. And actually Nancy Reagan, during that time, she fought so that the art piece could be laid across government lawns. And so many of the Republicans were like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. And Nancy Reagan was like, oh, well, why don't you want that? And they're like, oh, because it's going to ruin the grass. And she's like, okay, well, what if we just we'll just rotate the panels every hour. It'll be fine. Well, of course they didn't rotate the panels, but the AIDS quilt was there. And actually, it's it is the largest folk art in the world as of 2016. So kind of a cool thing. AIDS obviously is tragic and upsetting, but out of the AIDS epidemic came this giant art piece. So of course I'm going to relate it back to art. So back in 2012, the FDA actually approved PrEP for the first time. Mm-hmm. And that is a medication to help prevent HIV and AIDS.
I was like, are you looking at me because I take it?
Well, yeah. No, I thought you were like, I have something to comment on because I heard you go,
oh, yeah.
But I think you're like, oh, I have that note too.
Yeah, I was just like, no, I'm on Truvada, actually.
So, I mean, honestly, that medication's great because it's going to help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Now, there has been a lot of commentary about the patent for this medication because in America, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And this could be, a potentially life-saving medication.
I know that more than 50% of people who are infected with HIV are actually properly medicated now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Right, because...
Are you happy?
No. I was like, what? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, back in the 90s, I feel like when AIDS medication was first presented, it was so harrowing to go through because it was just, took such a toll on people's bodies.
Right.
That nowadays, there's a lot of people that live perfectly healthy, happy lives and they're living with AIDS or HIV.
Yep. We just need to tear away at the stigma of living with HIV and AIDS.
Right. There's a lot of stigma around it. I mean, I feel like there's going to be a cure someday, hopefully within our lifetimes.
Hopefully. But we still have a long way to go with that, I think knowing a little bit more of the history behind it definitely will help guide your view, hopefully, to being a little bit more empathetic towards people who are still living with it right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so I guess technically you both had that one, but that was your turn, technically.
That was my turn.
Okay. So, wow, I have to go back again.
Okay, what do you have?
Okay, so let's start the timer.
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1. Organization. Scientific journals. DSM.
What's DSM?
Diagnostic mental disorders.
DSW warehouse. DSW warehouse. Oh, mental disorders. Me. No.
So you got organization.
No, I don't know.
Oh. Okay.
What's DSM?
I told you, it's the Diagnostic of Mental Disorders.
Oh. Scientific journals. Girl, I don't know.
Okay, it's the American Psychiatric Association, also known as the APA.
What about the... Oh, wait, is it them saying that gay people are mentally mental? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
So...
it took me a second to get there, but folks, we got there.
We got there. I'm actually not going to have you do a shot because you got it.
Thank you. I'm going to take a drink of water, though.
Sure. Okay, so... Before Stonewall, back in 1952, the American Psychiatric Association had released their first journalistic publication. Okay. And for those of you who don't know about this, the publication actually sort of lists mental health disorders, talk about scientific research of what's happening at the time, things like that. So, in their first publication, the APA actually listed homosexuality as a sociopathic personality disorder. And immediately following this, a lot of scientists, activists, and mental health organizations were all just like, where did you get that from? There's no scientific evidence to back it up.
It's just homophobia.
Exactly. That there's no scientific evidence to support this. And the APA, listening to their criticism, still said, we are withstanding with what we wrote, and it's going to stay in the publication. So, of course, not saying the APA is a groundbreaking, like, people follow it word for word or whatever like that. But
Sure.
it definitely did not help in public views of homosexuality. Because people would just turn to it and be like, well, it's a mental health disorder, you know?
Right.
And it's just, you know, back then, you're fucking crazy. Like, you're deficient.
I am deficient in iron.
Well, we can tell.
I don't know what that means. You're deficient in iron.
Yeah.
You anemic bitch.
Yeah, let that read sink in.
I can't. I'm deficient in defiance.
So anyway, after the Stonewall riots, queer activists actually started to fight back against the stigma of, obviously, homosexuality, and they contacted the APA.
Sure.
And after a lot of negotiation, on December 15th, 1973, the APA finally removed homosexuality from its list of mental disorders by a vote of 5,854 to 3,810. 3,810.
Jeez.
Yeah. So there's still
There's still a lot of
I was like, there were
people.
still a lot of people who still said it was a mental health disorder. But,
Jesus.
yeah. That was a big milestone in queer history, I will say. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
definitely
small
think
but
so.
powerful and effective, I would say.
Small but powerful and effective.
Me.
I was going to say that, but I was just like, he's not that short. Okay, so I am ready for my next one. You'll probably also have this too, so I'm not that upset by it.
Okay.
All right, get ready to start the timer.
Okay.
Ready?
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, Clinton administration. Hush, hush.
Oh,
Military.
don't ask, don't tell.
That's, yep,
okay.
yep, all right. You got it. Yay! Well, not yay to don't ask, don't tell, but
Well, I mean,
yay.
yeah, I got it right.
Josh's like, I'm winning, and that's what matters in
Right.
this game. So, don't ask, don't tell, as many of you know, was something that Clinton actually started. Bill Clinton, that is.
Yes.
So, actually, ever since the Revolutionary War, any queer person, they were automatically banned from enlisting into the U.S. military. But during the U.S. Presidential
Were gay
election,
people invented back then?
gay people were actually invented about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was when Gaga, she released Joanne.
Ah, yes.
Yes. And then they were just like, no.
Okay.
But during the... So after, there was a lot of gay activists pushing to lift this ban on queer people enlisting in the U.S. military, there was actually a soldier who was stomped to death for being gay by a fellow soldier.
Alan Schindler,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's in your notes.
What? Yeah, he was stomped to death by another soldier for being gay.
Okay, work on having the specifics. I see you.
What? Well, I'm just, yeah. But I remember that was the reason why people were saying, like, openly gay people shouldn't be enlisted in the military.
Right. So then after Bill Clinton ended up winning office, they started the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, which was put into effect February 28th, 1994, as a way to soften the ban. So the policy basically prohibited military personnel from discriminating against any closeted homosexual or bisexual military participant.
I noticed how you did not include transgender.
Right. We'll get to that. But it also ended up barring any openly homosexual or bi person from enlisting. So while this ban was kind of like, oh, well, you can enlist, but don't talk about it. Literally, don't ask, don't tell.
Right. Well, people can't discriminate against you just by assuming that you're gay,
Right.
but you also can't.
You
be
can't
openly
talk
gay.
about it.
Right.
So, and
Well, it's because people thought that, like, gay people, like, would be distracting in the military.
well, they considered it a risk after, what was his name? We'll call him Alan.
Yeah. Well, his name is Alan.
Well, we'll call him Alan. So Alan, so after Alan was stomped to death, they thought it was going to be something that was a risk for the military to have openly queer people serving.
Right.
So that's why they were like, you can serve. Don't talk about it, though.
Yeah.
So it's not like people were necessarily super duper quiet. Like, I'm sure that there were a few cases that people could tell if they were queer or not.
Right. Well, I think if you're open,
You were discharged.
You were discharged. Yeah.
Yeah, you were straight up like, if you're like, I'm gay and I'm serving our country, and they're like, great, we're gonna discharge you.
Right. Goodbye.
Yeah, terrible. So it wasn't until the 21st century that a lot of queer groups and politicians started calling out Don't Ask, Don't Tell because they thought it should be repealed, that it wasn't beneficial to the military or to the queer people that may be serving. Actually, Al Gore supported this when he ran in 2000, and it was completely rejected by the Republican Party, though. Surprise, surprise, like I was saying.
Shocking.
Yeah. So, but after Obama won in 2008, Congress passed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal of 2010 on May 27th, 2010. So when Obama decided to repeal this, it took about 60 days and officially was repealed September 20th, 2011, ending the 17-year ban on openly queer military service. And we should note that several Republican candidates called to reinstate the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy if they were to win in 2012. So I think something that's really interesting is in 2019, we're dealing with, the trans military ban here in America.
Right.
Trump is tweeting about how he's going to ban trans military people, and it did go into effect.
Well, it was like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was on
like
April 12th. Yeah, I was looking for it.
Well, I remember transgender people were openly able to enlist in like 2015 or 2016 or something like that from the Obama administration. But it's because there was this company, I can't remember what it was called, but they actually ran a report on the implications of why transgender people, like, could they serve? Because I remember a lot of people were arguing like, the medical cost to support transgender people in the military will be too high. There's transitional hormones that they have to continue to take that we don't know if we'd be able to support.
Which is ridiculous. The millions and millions and millions of dollars that the government spends on the military. A small, tiny, itty-bitty little percentage of that goes to trans people.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you're spending too much money.
Well,
No, you spent millions of dollars on bombs to bomb foreign countries for no apparent reason.
Right.
America.
Yep, exactly. So I remember that report came out, and that sort of lifted the ban on allowing transgender people to enlist. And then Trump was just like, well, I don't believe it. So
basically what Trump is doing is he's just pandering to those who vote for him. He doesn't really give a fuck, whether or not trans people are serving. He just wants the votes. And because he's so bloodthirsty and crazed, he is now, voting against having people serve in the military. I'm like, it's wild to me. It's terrible. It's wild. But yeah, the trans military ban kind of is like a throwback to a Don't Ask, Don't Tell sort of period for me.
Right. It's like part two.
Yeah, it's like part two. Exactly.
Now, granted, this ban is actually going to apparently I didn't realize this. It's not going to last that long. Apparently, it's going to end in 2020.
Then what was the point?
Exactly.
It's, it's just to rile up the base.
Exactly.
It's just to rile up the base, and all of those like evil, transphobic, homophobic, racist, misogynistic, bullshitting people that support Trump and his cronies, they're totally eating into this.
Agreed.
And I would say this even if I hadn't done a bunch of shots.
Fair.
Just to be noted.
Yeah.
Okay,
right,
next.
So, next one. All right, so... Oh, yeah, so I have to give out clues. I forgot.
Yes.
I forgot we're playing a game. All right. You ready?
Yeah, I hope so.
3, 2, 1. Wyoming. Hate crime. Foundation.
Okay.
Prevention Act.
Oh, okay.
Anti-violence advocacy.
It's the Laramie Project. What's his name? Shit! I need more than 10 seconds. Matthew Shepard.
Matthew Shepard.
I remember the play, The Laramie Project.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you still take a shot. Sorry.
Remember, kids, to hydrate. We had like a little strainer. I completely am bypassing the strainer. Cheers, queers.
Cheers.
Oh.
Okay, so
all right, let's talk about Matthew Shepard.
Yeah, okay, so
I am familiar with Matthew Shepard, and it was actually because of the play The Laramie Project.
No, I was gonna say, did you have him on your notes?
I did not. I did not,
okay.
which is shameful, but...
Yeah, boo.
I am shameful.
Okay, so Matthew Shepard was an openly gay student at University of Wyoming, and 2 men had approached him at a bar one night, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson. So at the time, a little bit of backstory of Matthew Shepard. He had actually survived a rape when he was in high school.
Oh, jeez.
And because of that, he was suffering a lot from depression, and he had turned to drugs to try to cope with that. So, apparently rumor has it is that they tried to entice him with drugs.
Okay, what year was this?
97.
For reference, 97. Okay, because I was trying to remember. I knew it was post, like, the beginning of AIDS, because there was also kind of, like, AIDS scare.
Yeah.
Which led up to this hate crime. Go ahead.
Well, he was also HIV positive.
Okay.
Yeah, just throwing it out there. So anyway, they lead him. They actually drive him out of town, and they start to beat him savagely. They robbed him. They took a gun and pistol whipped him, like beating his face in.
Yeah.
And I think at one point they even set his clothes on fire.
God.
And then tied him to the fence and then left him there overnight.
They hung him on a fence.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they hung him on a fence to die. Mm-hmm. And because his injuries were so severe, he actually slipped into a coma. And no one found him for 18 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, like you said, they hung him to a fence post. Mm-hmm. The person who found him was just like a jogger who was running by, and they thought he was a scarecrow. Mm-hmm. And that's just, they were just like, that's how battered up
Can you imagine being that person to, like, be just jogging and you see, it's like out of a horror film.
Right.
I mean, it is a horror film.
It is a
this
horror
hate
film.
crime, it's, oh, God.
Mm-hmm. So he died 6 days later. Simply because his brain injuries were just so severe. And the media coverage to this murder was actually, like, it was huge, nationwide coverage over this. I remember, like, reading about this even as a young kid. His killers went to trial. They both went to jail. And it was at this time that President Clinton and his administration was actually trying to expand legislation to include hate crimes, to include gay, lesbian. I don't think transgender was included at the time, but women and people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, it wasn't passed.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. And it wasn't until 2009 when Obama passed a law that it actually went into effect. And it was called the Matthew Shepard and Dan Byrd Jr. Prevention Act. For those who don't know, Dan Byrd Jr., just really quickly, he was a black man who was killed by the Ku Klux Klan in the late 90s.
Okay. I was like, who is that? Okay, cool.
So
I mean, not cool, but thank you for telling me.
So in 2009, Obama finally passed a law where someone's gender, sexual orientation, identity, or disability, they are protected under that law where you cannot discriminate against them, and they also protect them under hate crime laws.
Okay.
Yep. His mom and dad also became huge advocates for the LGBTQ community. They started the Matthew Shepard Foundation. And that is just more in the sense of, like, they just want to create an open dialogue to people about anti-violence and having a more a more progressive viewpoints of our society. And that's just through going to universities, going to, like, having TED Talks and people.
Yeah, lectures, education, totally.
I'm not sure why the Matthew Shepard case had so much media attention, but it is interesting how...
it's just gruesome.
I mean, it is, but I mean, there's a lot of people who are murdered.
It could be because he is still a white man.
Could be. I don't want to, like, look into it too deeply.
No, like, I don't want to, like, lighten it, but I feel like the media has a tendency to report on things that affect white men even if they are still gay.
Right, that's true, yeah.
As opposed to, like, a trans woman of color.
Right. But,
Not to take away from the atrocious hate crime that was, but I have a feeling that the media, it's sometimes easier for people to digest.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, rest in peace, Matthew Shepard.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yes. All right, next one. We're almost done. We're on our last one each.
Okay, and I'm thinking you probably have this one too.
Ellen!
Ellen was last episode. No. So this one, ready?
Oh, wait. Start the timer. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Massachusetts. Wedding bells. Prop 8. 2015.
Gay. Marriage.
Yes. Yep. You got it.
Gay.
Gay. That's like when people are like, what's your podcast about? Gay. Yes. It is same-sex marriage being legalized nationwide. Do you remember where you were when this happened?
Yes, I do. I was working at this small town, like, leave of absence claims place.
What a sexy job.
I know. I was just sitting at my desk, and I remember, like, news broke out, and, like, all of our
And then
phones-
you broke out in hives.
No, I just remember, like, all of us were very supportive that day, and it was kind of cool because I was still in Iowa, and I didn't think that a lot of people would be like, you know, like...
They're like, yeah, let the gays get married. Who cares? Yeah.
Exactly.
I was in the back of my uncle's car coming back from Michigan after seeing a Frida Kahlo Diego Rivera art exhibit.
Oh.
And it was during Pride, so we were held up in traffic, and I was late to the Pride parade. So that was cute. But hey, yeah, same-sex marriage was legalized. Yeah, that's important.
I was like,
I'm just like, I was late to the parade. But, oh, yeah, right, I know. So, I mean, this has obviously expanded over decades and decades. And the first time it ever went to the Supreme Court was back in 1972 with Baker versus Nelson. And that was when Minnesota decided to limit the marriage of those of the opposite sex. And they decided that that was unconstitutional. So the Defense of Marriage Act, put into law on September 21st, 1996, defined a federal marriage as a union between one man and one woman and allowed states to refuse recognition of same-sex marriages.
Yeah, so the Defense of Marriage Act actually is a lot of what conservatives fell back on.
And I think continue to fall back on.
Oh, yeah, it's just like it's a sanction or whatever that...
The sanctity of marriage,
Right.
they say as they sign the divorce papers.
Right.
So on November 18th, 2003, the Massachusetts Constitution required the state to legally recognize same-sex marriage, becoming the very first state in history to legally uphold same-sex marriage as constitutional.
Woo!
That's why Massachusetts I put in there.
Massachusetts!
As a clue.
Yes.
So the state began to issue marriage licenses right on May 17th, 2004. So on May 15th, 2008, just a few years later, California became the second state to legally recognize same-sex marriages. But this was overturned by Prop 8, November 5th, 2008.
Which, like, I didn't really know much about anything back then, but I just remember being so confused to be like, so is California, like, a board or are they not a board?
Oh, yeah. No, I remember being like, oh, wait, so a bunch of people just got married and now they can't get married?
Right.
It was just like the weirdest fucking thing.
Because then Prop 8 was overturned, like, a year later, I think.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it ended up being considered unconstitutional
So it's basically
about
just
a year
like California
later.
being like, you can get married? No. Yes. No. Yes.
Right, and even though it was overturned like a year later, the Prop 8, they did not continue to do same-sex marriages until 2013, which is kind of weird. I don't understand why, but hey, California, we're looking to you.
Well, I will say this, too. I feel like the public opinion also had a lot to do with, like, same-sex marriage becoming more legalized. Because I remember by, like, early 2011, 12, 13.
Right.
That's when people were like, oh, like, gay marriage should be legalized by now.
Yeah, we should legalize. Like, it was kind of like why are we even having this discussion?
Right.
Even a lot of conservative people that I had on Facebook, I think you unfriended me. That's cute. I don't need to see your ugly ass anyways. But I think a lot of them, Josh's face just went, and I ope.
Yeah, I was just like, ooh.
Ooh, and I ope. They were even like in support of gay marriage. What's really fun and interesting is when Obama was sworn into office, he was the first to openly support gay marriage as the president, and he talked about it in his State of Union address. And then by May of 2015, 37 states and Washington, D.C. had legalized same-sex marriage. So you're right, the public opinion had been more supportive of gay marriage. And it was at, actually, let me see, 60%, which was the highest percentage in American history. So now we're, finally to the end. So finally on June 26, 2015, right before the Pride anniversary, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that same-sex marriage was a right protected by the U.S. Constitution in all 50 states.
Alabama, Alaska,
Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, I like this part, Connecticut to Delaware. And
Okay, shut up. But anyway, gay marriage.
Woo!
I will say,
I think a lot of people thought that like queer issues were solved with gay marriage being legalized.
well, it's kind of just like Barack Obama's elected into office.
It's like having
We're not racist.
Right. We're in a post-racial America. I feel like some people thought that with queer people being allowed to get married, it's kind of like having your body be really ripped apart and needing a full body cast, and having the doctor be like, all right, well, I can put your arm in a sling. You're like, well, I need a full body cast for this. And it's like, no, but your arm will be fixed. There's still a lot to do when it comes to like gay rights.
Yeah.
And queer rights rather. But hey, for the Supreme Court to hold out and be like, all right, here's a reveal. We know the gays love a reveal. Guess what? Y'all can get married.
Well, I remember that was one of the biggest positive queer moments in political history time frame that I remember.
Yeah, there's been a lot of like negative thing. I mean, we talked about.
Well, we have like the gay
Matthew Shepard
Baker situation where like people.
Oh
like,
God, yeah.
You know, say like, based on my religious beliefs, I'm not going to serve you.
Right.
So I've had like a lot of stories of that growing up, but I never had things like, oh my God, things actually went well for once.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm on my last one.
You're on your last one?
Yes. You
All
ready?
right. I am ready.
All right. Start the timer, sis. I think you might have it. I think you probably have it.
Okay, I might.
Okay.
And as if I know.
1. Nightclub.
Pulse nightclub.
Yep.
That was easy. Okay, yeah,
Well,
we both had
me.
it. Well, you came out with the first one. I don't know what were your other clues?
Latin Night Attack Orlando. You would have gotten it.
I would have gotten it.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I remember I cried when this happened.
I did too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was it was just terrible.
Yeah. It was.
Where were you when this happened?
I don't remember exactly where I was. I think I was just at my apartment when I found out, but I do remember that we all went out the next night. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it was just a really solemn event.
Yeah, it was really dark. I remember I was coming back.
Boys Town.
Yeah, I was coming back from Myrtle Beach, and I was getting on a plane, and all these like news outlets were going out, and I was like dating this guy at the time, and this is the guy who eventually broke up with me, literally the day of the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Ooh.
So I'll never forget that happening, and obviously Pulse nightclub. It was just like really sad. I could not stop crying. I was like weeping and weeping and weeping. But yeah, I remember going out with you the next night in Boys Town in Chicago. And it was there was visuals. It was so somber.
I remember I was like sobbing that night.
That was sad.
Yeah. So I'm sure most people know about Pulse. But just to give a quick summary. So Omar Mateen was a security guard who targeted the Pulse nightclub, and he killed 49 people and wounded 53 others in a mass shooting. And this shooting is actually considered the deadliest mass shooting in history, up until the Las Vegas shooting a year later. So Pulse was a gay nightclub and based in Orlando, Florida. And that night in particular, they were hosting and celebrating Latin Night. So a lot of the victims were unfortunately of Latino descent. And I just remember the news frenzy was just, there were so many outlets just like trying to theorize of why he did it in the first place.
Right. Didn't they say it was like ISIS or like terrorism or something?
Well, that's what they concluded with.
That's what they concluded.
But do you remember
how didn't he say, he was like, oh, I'm part of ISIS, but didn't ISIS, did they even claim it?
No, so...
Or what happened? I'm trying to remember.
So eventually, once the frenzy kind of settled down, he claimed it was to be part of ISIS.
Oh, like an initiation?
No, like he did it for ISIS.
And
like,
did they want him to?
But they never claimed responsibility.
Right, so it wasn't like they told him to do it. He was just doing it. Ugh, Jesus
he was just
Christ.
doing it for them. But I remember there were so many speculations, just like, well, he was a closeted gay. And
I remember that too, yeah.
And, he did it because, like, he was angry with himself, and people were trying to say that he was, like, attending Pulse regularly. Apparently a lot of that is false.
Right, which just goes into even more homophobia. Like, it's just like, oh, well, the closet, like, people who kill are just closeted gays.
Right, who are just angry and violent.
No, they're just homophobic, angry, awful, evil humans.
Yep.
That happens.
Exactly. I remember Obama... I feel like Obama tried to handle it the best way he could. He tried to claim it as a hate crime, and he stated in his addresses to this as a hate crime. And he went to Orlando. He visited the families. I think they raised 49 flags. I can't remember where though, but they raised 49 flags. I think in Orlando to represent each of the 49 victims.
Wow.
Yeah. That being said, the FBI did not claim it as a hate crime.
Of course they didn't.
Yeah, because they said, this is what they quote, he was potentially targeting other places other than Pulse. So because of that, it's not technically a gay hate crime.
Okay, well...
Which I feel like just diminishes.
It does diminish. I mean, I'm not surprised because the FBI, hey, if you're listening,
No, he's watching us right
he's
now.
watching us, and he's so disappointed. He's like, button up that shirt, Kyle. But the FBI is like notorious. I mean, they were like keeping track of gay people back in like the 1950s and 60s. Mm-hmm. So like, why wouldn't they just like slough it off as like, oh, it's not a hate crime because he was going to like hurt other people?
Right.
What?
So stupid.
Yeah. No, it was a homophobic hate crime. That's what it was. It's terrible. And I feel like since then, it's. I don't feel as worried now going out because I'm just kind of like, well, I'm going to go out. I'm going to continue to live my life. Mm-hmm. But I remember afterwards, like my parents were like, "Oh my God, Kyle, please, like, don't go out." And I'm like, "How? Like, I don't. I'm going to continue to go to gay spaces. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't live your life in fear."
No.
And it's just that's just the sad truth. You know, we just had the memorial of it last week, so.
Yep. Well, anyway.
Yeah, I feel like, not to end on a somber note, I feel like, if anything, what we learn from post-Stonewall politics and social movements is...
we still have a long way to go.
A long way to go, but we need to celebrate the small victories that we have.
Yes. I was going to say, though we still have a long way to go, there's a lot to celebrate within what we just discussed.
Yeah.
And remember that when you go to the Pride Parade...
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the straight fucking Pride Parade.
Oh.
This is why. No, this is a fucking thing. This is why. Let me get in my soapbox. This is why you don't get straight Pride. Is because everything that we just fucking listed doesn't happen to straight people. Well, yeah. I mean, you might get shot, and there might be hate crimes if you're a person of color, but it's not because you're straight.
No.
It's because we have gun laws in this country that need to be much tighter than they are. Uh-huh. So, you know, I don't know when that's going to end. I don't know when it's going to start. But yeah, we need to celebrate the small victories of what we have. But straight pride, go fuck yourself.
I'm not even going to comment on it because I'm not even going to give it my time of day.
I'm going to give it my time of day. Go fuck yourself.
There we go.
Josh is much nicer than I am. So who won? You know what? I think we both won.
Sure.
I think it's because I think like it's because I low key think I lost this.
I'm pretty sure you did.
But I'm gonna say we both won, and you know why we win? Because we're both
because we're both drunk.
No, we're both lovely people.
Oh, shut up.
Queer people during Pride Month who get to have this podcast. See, I'm getting all sentimental.
Aww,
I'm pulling on Josh's thumb.
Like, he's rubbing my thumb right now, and I'm not really appreciating it.
It's like, hello, thumbs up. All right, so remember, kids, drink your water.
Yes. And I hope you enjoyed this political podcast.
Yes, we will be coming back next week for our final Pride series.
Pride series.
So remember, you can always contact us at fearthequeerpodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram at fearthequeerpodcast. Like us on Facebook.
And make sure to follow us on all podcast media platforms, including SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
And as always, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
And we're Fear the Queer. Bye.